broke the boxes, got out of the box, and you created the beautiful you today who's spreading love around and telling people that they needed to be loved, who they are. So tell us about this journey where you arrived at your own self. What was it that, what point, what trigger that you realized enough is enough? So what was the breaking point when you hit the door, opened it, and walked out of that door?
First, it was my religion. First, I left that behind before leaving my marriage. So yeah, that was that was my first. I call it like the rug pulled out from under me, and then I'm just free falling.
Wow.
Now I don't know what's true anymore. Now I don't know what. Yeah, basically my entire foundation was just gone because I just felt I knew that it was uh, wrong. I knew that it was not truth, and I knew that it was creating like wounds inside of me that if I didn't leave would just continue to fester and get worse. Leaving the religion first was the first step, and then that started to make my marriage rocky. Because now I'm a little bit of the enemy, and I'm the one who's not teaching the kids the same things that we agreed upon. And yeah, that was rough. That was really rough. But being with my ex too, I asked for separation. I was like, I cannot deal with this level of feeling unseen. He had stopped talking to me for a couple months. He was going through a lot, and eventually it just cracked for both of us.
So are you breaking the myth that religion is not needed for spirituality?
Yes. Yes, and in fact, I feel like sometimes it gets in the way. For me, I dropped all spirituality when I dropped religion. It was like everything had to be thrown out in order for me to rebuild something from the ground up that felt like it resonated more with the center of who I was than what I was taught in a building every Sunday. Yeah, after breaking the box, it was the piece of, yeah, how did I get here? I know people who left my religion when they were 16. Why did I stay until I was 30? All of that is on me. So taking responsibility for my current place felt like one of the biggest pieces of my journey. So when I call people out and they just say, well, you're the problem. Yeah, I've lost people, which is painful. It's very painful and sometimes can feel very lonely to walk the path of being fully who you are and fully emotionally expressive. But when you do, you also find the people who are wanting to do that as well. And it's magic. It's magical to connect with people in that way.
Amazing. Love, freedom, liberation, spirituality is equal to divinity.
Yes.
So
Yes.
is Jules standing at that point where she knows who she is? And which means that if she knows who she is, what is her practice of being what she is? Means what is your philosophy and your spirituality practice that keeps you on the frequency of this love and being who you are? Welcome, beautiful beings, the spiritual community. Here we are, and we are here with a very special guest from Seattle, the Love Goose, the Jules, the Julie Hunter. We hunted her and got her here on this space for you because she has the magic, she has the space, she has the voice, and she has come a long way from pain. She has come a long way from this pain. Share with you her experiences. Thank you so much, Jules. Thank you so much for coming here on the show and being a part of this. And I'm sure the spiritual community is going to benefit from your experiences, and a lot of people out there will resonate. So let's start with you. Give us a little introduction on you. Tell us all about that pain, the messy pain, and how did the box open? Welcome.
Yes. Oof. I, like many women, have experienced a lot of different types of abusive situations, sexual abuse as a child, and relational, emotional in my marriage, my previous marriage. And I also was in a very strict religion growing up. So just a lot of different pains, boxes that needed escaping from, really.
So you broke the boxes, got out of the box, and you created the beautiful you today who's spreading love around and telling people that they needed to be loved, who they are. So tell us about this journey where you arrived at your own self. What was it that, what point, what trigger that you realized enough is enough?
Yeah, with my ex-husband, in our marriage, we were struggling, and I was told that I was abusive. And I was told that I was a certain way, or I would say things a certain way, or do things that I didn't remember doing. And I trusted my spouse over my own experience, which was very, 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 very painful. Um, and felt so confused. Like maybe I should be institutionalized because I can't remember things, or I don't even know who I am, which was true. I don't think that at that point I really knew who I was. I think I was buried under so much garbage, that it was just easier to take somebody else's vision of me and say, well, that must be true because I don't even know who I am. Um, so losing myself completely at the end of that relationship, to the point where I felt nervous that I was going to lose my kids. I have 4 kiddos. Um, and I was just like, I have to figure out who the fuck I am.
So, with kids, with marriage, wherein, and you mentioned that one thing which I would want to talk about into, you said a very strict religious family.
Mm-hmm.
So, why do you think that was something that you needed to talk about?
Yeah, it feels all of it is wrapped up into one thing. Like I was raised and told that my job was to be a wife and a mother above everything else. So from a very young age, that's what my brain was working toward, despite any of my hobbies and passions and interests. My job was to attract a mate and to bear children. And because of that, I think that I was focused so much on finding someone who was strong religiously, right? Somebody who I knew would be a strong religious leader of my household, and somebody who um, was going to support my religion's idea that women should be staying at home also. So he had those two things. He checked those boxes. um, Unfortunately, there was also the the pain of not feeling seen in the marriage from the very beginning, right? We talked about this, you and I, when I first got on. You said something to me, and I felt very seen very quickly. You have that type of energy where you can see someone's spirituality and the love that they have in them. I did not get that in 10 years of being with someone. I did not feel seen. And all of that felt wrapped up in the religious messaging that, this type of fairy tale love, this type of deeply seen, deeply aligned love is not the goal. The goal is to get married to somebody righteous and have children.
So, what was the breaking point when you hit the door, opened it, and walked out of that door?
First, it was my religion. First, I left that behind, before leaving my marriage. So, yeah, that was that was my first. I call it like the rug pulled out from under me, and then I'm just free falling.
Wow.
Now I don't know what's true anymore. Now I don't know what. Yeah, basically my entire foundation was just gone, because I just felt I knew that it was uh, wrong. I knew that it was not truth, and I knew that it was creating um, like wounds inside of me that if I didn't leave would just continue to fester and get worse. So leaving the religion first was the first step, and then that started to make my marriage rocky. um, because now I'm a little bit of the enemy, and I'm the one who's not teaching the kids the same things that we agreed upon. And yeah, that was rough. That was really rough. But being with my ex too, I asked for separation. I was like, I cannot deal with this level of feeling unseen. He had stopped talking to me for a couple months. He was going through a lot. And eventually it just cracked for both of us. And I knew that in order to stay with him, I like to say, I had to keep on the mask of a monster in order to continue being in his life. But that wasn't true either. And I knew that. So eventually I had to take that mask off, hand it to him, and
Say
here I
goodbye.
am today. Yeah.
So you've brought a very interesting thread in the conversation there, Jules. You said that you left your religion,
Mm-hmm.
wherein there has been a lot of been talking about spirituality and religion, religion in hand in with the spirituality, spiritual in hand with the religion.
Mm-hmm.
You're a spiritual being. I've listened to a lot of stuff that you're saying. You hold a lot of ground. You're a very grounded person. You're teaching people the right paths to follow. So are you breaking the myth that religion doesn't is not needed for spirituality?
Yes. Yes, and in fact, I feel like sometimes it gets in the way. For me, I dropped all spirituality when I dropped religion. It was like everything had to be thrown out in order for me to rebuild something from the ground up that felt like it resonated more with the center of who I was than what I was taught in a building every Sunday. So, 100%. I feel like I've always had a deep spirituality inside of me, but my religion blocked a lot of my own spirituality, which is interesting.
Not many people are going to like this,
No, they are
but
not.
the way you did it was such a rebel thing. I'm personally a very strong believer of nothing.
Hmm.
I believe what I experience and what comes into my experience. And I second you with you the thoughts that at times we ourselves the blockage to our own
Yes.
growth. Our programming is the blockage.
Yep.
Our regular denial to our belief system is our blockage.
Hmm.
When you broke that, you left your religion, you left your family, you broke the shell of programming. And did you immediately become a butterfly, or you had to go through
I
those
wish.
those difficult parts of from the cocoon, breaking the shell, coming out? Were you still behaving, or you still behaving like a little a turtle that you would take out a leg and you come back, oh my god, I'm getting hurt? So what was the journey after you broke the box?
Yeah, after breaking the box, it was the piece of, yeah, what how did I get here? I know people who left my religion when they were 16. Why did I stay until I was 30? That all of that is on me. So taking responsibility for my current place felt like one of the biggest pieces of my journey. It's really easy to blame everyone and everything else for the place that you are in now. And I still get in that headspace sometimes. But I know that so much of the pain that I've experienced is because of self abandonment, self denial, like all of the things that I did to myself in those spaces where I was taught and programmed a certain way. I really reiterated those to myself, and I was my biggest bully
Wow.
for so
So
long.
I salute you. You broke the box, you broke the shell, you broke the programming, you dropped the religion, you said you dropped the spirituality, you got the carpet out of your feet, you stood strong, grounded. You decided that you'll stand up for yourself. You wanted to be seen. You took off the mask. I salute you. I salute your strength. Something inside you is way more powerful than anything that's outside you. And I think that's what is the journey of your transformation. And it's transparent, really transformatively inspirational. People need to know this, that inside them is something that can make them the hero that they always wanted to see in the mirror, and you became a hero.
Yes, 100%. And yeah, so I'm like, I went into a cocoon phase, which I do think is important. A phase where I let go of the expectations of myself and the others around me. And I questioned everything I've ever been taught.
So what was the
Whether
biggest
it's from,
question?
what's that?
What's the biggest question that you had to fight with for the longest time?
Ooh, the biggest question. Mm. I think the biggest question being like who am I at my core? Like I just felt like everything was everything that I was up until that point was something that I was taught, right? But it's like I came into the planet and I very much I'm one of my biggest things in the work that I do is emotional expression versus emotional repression. I was so emotionally repressed. And when I think about a baby being born, screaming and crying, I'm like that is the essence of who we are, is an emotional well of expression. We
Yeah.
scream, we cry, we laugh, we all expression is wonderful and should be utilized and has a purpose. But in my religion, and with my ex spouse, I was told that frustration was an opportunity to repent,
Oh,
that anger is of the devil. So anger was repressed so deeply for me that I would say things like I just don't really feel angry ever. So I didn't even notice anger in my own body. But yeah, getting to the heart of like, who am I? And who am I when I'm angry? Who am I when I'm scared and sad? And instead of just bottling everything up, allowing the freedom to express has single handedly changed everything for me.
which is that one thing that you think everybody, everybody in their marriage should look for a typical red flag, which means if this has happened from your experience, if this has
Hmm.
happened, just leave.
Ooh, I like that. Hmm. Oh, that feels so. I'm like, my brain can't even compute one thing. One thing. If this happened, then you leave. I think it's really like, how are you feeling about yourself within the relationship? So, is this person helping you to feel more love within yourself, or is this person making you feel unseen, or is this person making you feel like you're garbage, or is this right? How you feel about yourself in the presence of somebody else tells you everything you need to know about the health of the relationship.
That's beautiful. So when was the point that you got back on your intuitive powers? When did you figure out that yes, Jules all the time had this? This is the power that realized her. This is the power that got her into conscious awareness of what she was feeling. This is what that got into her experience. And yes, today she is not a religious person, but she's always been spiritual because the spirit existed and the spirit fought back. So today, when you teach people about spirituality, you talk to them about intuitive powers, you tell them about healing, you talk to them about emotional repression, fighting it back. How do you define yourself as a spiritual being?
Ooh. I like to do this exercise that I created with people where, because a lot of people come with all sorts of like sadness and ideas about who they are based on literally nothing true. And I like to do this exercise where I have people like go inside and imagine what's at the very center of their being, underneath years of lessons from people, underneath years of unhealthy relationship. And there's two answers people give over and over again, which is fascinating. One is nothing. People just see darkness, which tells me that there's some work that needs to be done in the past. There's some like just some big giant boxes in the basement of your emotional experience that need to be cleared out. And then the other answer people give is just like a light with no shape, which I
Wow.
think for some reason feels very important. It's just like this shapeless light. That is what I am. I am love and light and freedom with no shape. That is who I
Wow.
am spiritually in my core.
That's profound. That's very deep, and I think coming to that understanding for a being who's been through pain, suffering. So another question that comes out of that thread is spirituality messy?
Yes. 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 And I think spirituality a lot of times can be used to cover up, to bypass emotions, right? How can I always feel calm? How can I always feel joy? It's completely misses the point. The point is to feel everything. Again, you were born screaming and crying. Those are the first signs of life. So if you're not screaming and crying, you're not alive. If you don't have the full emotional expression, you're not actually living, and you are repressing, and you are trying to use coping mechanisms to keep you in a space that you feel like is safe.
Talking about safe space, you broke the safe space. You came out into the jungle, the the girl in the wild world, created her own world, created her own paths of spirituality because she understood herself. Because the journey from within happened. The journey towards inward happened, and she found that formless light which she says she is in. Jules is that formless, beautiful white light, that streak which is going out and helping people. If you have to define of what you are today to what you think you are giving to people, are you able to give yourself 100% to people today? Have you been able to open up that expression completely? Because staying in a state of emotional repression, unlocking your intuition, have you arrived at you?
Yeah, I have two people in my life that have that I believe I've given at least to my extent. So I'm still exploring specific emotions that I realize I repress, like power, right? Things that I was not allowed to have inside of a religious box. But I can get angry. I can get sad. I can be scared in front of two people in my life with so much safety. And there's so much reciprocity where they can also do the same. And there's respect and love in those spaces and conversations. Same with my children. I'm practicing this with my children so that it's really easy for us to tell children it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be angry. But then when they see us never doing it in return, the message is clear to them. It's actually not okay to be sad because I never see mom cry. It's actually not okay to be angry because I never see mom get fired up. So being able to do that with specific people has been helpful. And I have lost people along the way. So part of my coming into full emotional expression has has pinpointed people who don't want to be challenged, who don't like to hear when they're doing things that I'm like, that's hurtful behavior. So when I call people out and they just say, well, you're the problem. Yeah, I've lost people, which is painful. It's very painful and sometimes can feel very lonely to walk the path of being fully who you are and fully emotionally expressive. But when you do, you also find the people who are wanting to do that as well. And it's magic. It's magical to connect with people in that way.
Amazing. So, connecting to people gives us the next thought and the next threads. How do you, how do people, clients, the people who come to you to take your healing practices, getting to understand your intuitive services? Is it that you just look at them and you know there is something wrong, or there is a process, a toolkit of how you address their issues, or do you take sessions and you take a journey with them? How have somebody come back to you and says that it was my life changing experience? Tell us something about that.
Yeah, I like to think of myself as somebody in the passenger seat. So you're the driver, I'm in the passenger seat. I have like a roadmap, I have a flashlight, and I will point out caves that I think need to be explored. Some people are like, no, there's no cave there, there's nothing down there. And I'm like, okay, we'll move on. But I'll always come back and say, there is this cave. and I challenge you to see this cave. I do think I intuitively, because I know my own caves, and this is important. Healing work requires of you to go into your own caves. It's not about just crawling out of the caves that were placed on you. It's about exploring the depths on your in your own will and volition. And once you do that, it becomes less scary, and then you're willing to explore the next cave more quickly. So, yeah, I like to explore people's caves with them. I have so much ability and bandwidth to sit with somebody in their sadness that I'll just tell people, like, yeah, open up your tear ducts, open up your throat, and like let it out, because I'm okay. I do it myself. So I can witness you doing it. And that, I think, is healing. My work right now, I am doing like I call it a, a mix between friendship and mentoring, because I work very deeply with a few people, and it's not just weekly sessions. It's like you can call me, you can message me, and I'll be available for a year of I want to be like a secure person, a secure attachment wherein most people have never experienced a relationship like that. So, yeah, I want to do my work in more of a deep relationship setting, not a clinical weekly thing, which has been it feels like a scary move. So I just made this transition. This is a new offering that I'm doing, but I'm like, this is how I do my best work. I am a master friend, and I want to help people in a friendship manner.
Lovely. So now that you are working in spaces with people of relationships, love is major thing you're looking at. That is what the
Mm-hmm.
solutions, and you tell them to love yourself and explore
Mm-hmm.
because that's where the love begins. Uh, what is the reasons for relationships as per what you have understood so far with your intuition unlocked and understanding your healing journey? Been in a relationship that was tough to have. What do you think is the reason of parasitic relationships today?
Parasitic relationships? Tell me what you mean by that. I mean, I'm thinking of like my ex, like the soul sucking. Okay.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Wherein lot of relationships are coming to a point in time where I do get a lot of queries, questions. A lot of people are talking about uh, one person in the relationships gets becomes a parasite,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't, and the other person doesn't even know that their entire energy is going out.
Yep.
So, is that a myth? Big parasitic relationship, or uh, we can restructure it in a more simpler way that
No, I like that.
co codependence to coexistence,
Mm-hmm.
parasitic relationship, codependence, coexistence.
Yes.
Let's talk about these.
Okay, I love it. Yeah, I think that again, your relationships will tell you the health of yourself, the health of how you are internally, and they can be your. Actually, I think they are always your greatest lessons. So much of our trauma and pain comes from relationships. So much of the healing work is done in relationships. So, um, yeah, I dream of a world where there is more community who knows how to do this so that we can do it in a community manner versus getting people in an office where we're buttoned up and talking about difficult things. I know I have some friends anyway. Nope, we're going back to parasitic relationships. Parasitic relationships will teach you everything you need to know about yourself. So when you are tempted to blame someone else for sucking everything out of you, you continue to say, why am I doing this? Why am I here? And why am I accepting this kind of treatment? That is you. That is all on you to figure out. And it is not easy. And there is pain that other people can do and put you through. But you are the master of what do I do now? So, being able to learn from parasitic relationships is very important instead of just blaming them for everything wrong in your life. Um, So use it, alchemize it into something beautiful. And codependent, same thing. If you are heavily reliant on somebody else to give you the kind of love that you are seeking, you can do that for yourself. And once you do, you will find a love that is beyond your wildest imagination. And then you're both doing that for each other and yourselves. And it just grows. It's a relationship that continues to blossom and grow. It cannot stay stuck when you're with a partner who is willing to look inside themselves and say, how can I learn how to love myself better? And how can I learn to love you better? It is what we create songs, movies, books about. That's the type of love we all believe innately we can find, but many people have never touched in their lives.
Jules, the love goose, tell me what is love?
Love is deeply seeing someone and deeply accepting someone. So I see you and I accept you for who you are. I do not have to change you. I do not have to um, help you if you do not ask me. I just get to witness you and adore it. And when you do that for yourself, most people do not witness themselves and adore themselves ever. That is love. I love you and I accept you as you are in this very moment.
What is the role of freedom in relationships? Can relationships exist in freedom?
Yes. Yeah, I said this to my partner recently. I said, if you ever needed to go, I give you full permission. I give you permission to fly and spread your wings in whatever direction you need to go. That can only exist when you have a secure home base inside of yourself. Otherwise, you're grasping at people to make you feel worthy of love. But if you know what you provide and what you can give to yourself and to the world, it is like, yeah, yes, you can go. You can do whatever you want to do. Hint, most people don't want to leave a love like that. He's like, yeah, I would never leave this type of love, but he feels free inside of it. And I think that so much of the romantic notion of you're my everything, I could never be without you, it's that doesn't feel free to me. It doesn't. What about we just choose each other every day because our love is so incredible? What if we don't need to be locked in by a piece of paper or something to make us feel like this person won't leave us? What if it's okay if people come and go as they need to? Let people fly, and people will always find safety in your presence.
Found, there, arrived,
Yeah.
awakened, the light, the formless life.
Yes.
Love, freedom, liberation, spirituality is equal to divinity.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
is Jules standing at that point where she knows who she is, and which means that if she knows who she is, what is her practice of being what she is means what is your philosophy and your spirituality practice that keeps you on the frequency of this love and being who you are.
Hmm. I It's a mixture of cleaning out your past. I had to go into my past. My sexual abuse specifically was clouding a lot of my judgment. So, cleaning out your past, being in relationship with all of those parts of you that have been hurt before, and and then listening to your body, because once you've cleaned out your past and once you find love within you, your body will tell you everything you need to know
You know,
without a doubt.
definitely. So, is there a practice in spirituality that you look for? Like, there's a belief system that you still follow because you don't have, you've mentioned that you don't have a religion. So, is there
Mm-hmm.
a belief system that you follow? Is there a philosophy that you look at? Is there anything that what you figured out something,
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you call that? You're a spiritual being who has a certain philosophy, or is it just that you're living each day, breathing each day, the heart is beating, you're loving, and you're not looking at anything?
I am kind of allergic to practices where I have to be in a box. I don't want to say I have to do this thing every day, every morning, whatever. But it's based on the principles of being in relationship with self. So I do have a practice that I naturally am drawn to every week, and I call it a round table with my inner parts, and they're all at a round table, and whoever needs the floor gets to speak, and we just have conversations inside. Yes, I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but it is very, very effective to have all of those pieces of me working together, and they like I'm just in a good relationship with all of those parts of myself. So I do round table work, and then everything else just flows. Like I like to dance. I love to move my body in, and I'll just turn on music and I'll close my eyes and I will move the way that my body is drawn to move. Or if the sun is shining and the outdoors are calling me, I will put on my shoes and I will go walk around a lake. I just like to listen to my body. I like freedom, I like play, and I don't like being in boxes, so I'm not.
The liberated free soul. Jules, you've arrived at a space where you have given up on every kind of identity and labels. You've endorsed love completely. You've endorsed the sun completely. You've endorsed your breath completely. And while you were saying this, I actually figured out with my creative expression, you're sitting on a big table and you're different, and you in different costumes, sitting with different parts of
Yes.
you at the big table and celebrating Happy Valentine's Day with your own self.
Yes.
That just thought just popped up in my head as you talked about you sitting with yourself in that space. I think one lesson which everybody should take from this discussion here is that self-love is is the love. Only when self-love will exist, we'll be able to give it out.
Yep.
So today in this session with Jules, the Love Goose, I think both of us can say to each other that what I've learned from you and I surrender to the kind of love that you've now described. I think this is the most beautiful form of love. There are no tags, there is no paper certificate, there is no religion, there is no validation, there is no binding. And if such love can exist and such practices can live exist, and you can have this love, sure, everybody can have this love. And with this
Yes.
kind of love, people will always be liberated. Thank you
Yes.
so much for sharing the story with us.
Thank you.
And I would request everybody who's listening to this podcast, seeing this podcast, to definitely visit Jules' profiles and see the wonderful work that she's doing, the wonderful uh, thoughts that she has, that she shares every day on different platforms. And I'm sure even if a single person is figures out their love for themselves, it's going to be her kind of redemption for herself, which is paying back to her own soul and saying thank you to that formless light and peace that's inside her. Thank you so much, Jules.
Yay.
Thank you
Thank
so
you. Thank you. Thank
much.
you. Thank
Thank
you. It
you.
was a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you.